Hey, Matt, what you doing, man?
I was going to read this. This episode of Walking in My Wheels is brought to you by theprettytree.com, your new source of high-quality fashion accessories, as well as organic health and beauty products. Listeners of the show can save 15% by using the code WALK15 at checkout. We know we did. Derek has never looked so pretty in a floral scarf.
Well, it's like Matt's hair blowing in the wind.
Oh, baby.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Walking My Wheels, the show that talks about anything and has absolutely no structure. Just me rolling through life with some pretty awesome friends. What's up, guys? To my left, I have Matt. Little pause.
I'm so glad you got through the opening.
Oh, my
name.
God.
He forgot my name, interwebs.
For you
Good
people-
morning, everybody.
Good
I'm
morning.
the guy who's not important enough to be remembered here. Guy.
Well, the thing is we tried to do this intro 18 times, and I've messed it up every time. So
I was like,
I
today,
know,
Junior.
I know, right? And to my right, I have the man, the myth, the beard, Grizz. How you doing, Grizz?
What's up, fellas?
Not much. How's life treating everybody? I know I'm pretty tired today. I keep messing up, so you guys are going to have to keep this podcast flowing for me. So good luck. Good luck with that.
No.
Yeah, we're just going to give up right now.
We're
All
just
right.
going to make this uncomfortable and awkward for you. You're gonna
Thanks
feel
for
like you
listening,
have to keep
everybody.
I
talking.
know. We named this one shortest podcast ever.
Well, if we take all the outtakes from you trying to get the intro together, we'd probably have about 45 minutes worth of content.
Absolutely. And I've deleted them all already, so that cannot happen.
Damn it.
I made new swears, invented new swears in the process.
I never heard those words used in combinations like that before.
I know.
Yeah, took a moment for us to gain traction because we were all over the place.
Yeah, we were.
So,
Speaking of all over the place, I went to New York.
yes,
Yes. So it was pretty awesome. Well, New York, it was a two-parter, to be quite honest. First part, we flew in. I was up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I didn't get to sleep till probably about 1. Well, yeah, I'd say about 1-ish. Had to be up at 4 at the airport by 5. Flight leaves at 6. Connecting flight. We got into New York, JFK, a little bit late, and the bus picked us up. Then we went to the New York office, and it was awesome. Basically, to refresh anybody who doesn't know, our company has an Olympics every year where they have like 8 teams or something that compete against each other, and the winner gets to play against the winner of the Stanford office in Norwalk, Connecticut. So they send them all up. I've been reffing for 4 years now, so they actually were generous enough to send me on up along with the team, which was pretty awesome. So we get there, we do the office, then we go to this place called Mateo's. Freaking awesome. I had veal parmesan, nothing like a baby cow. It was delicious. And it was a straight up like Italian, hard Italian, where like, oh, these people might be in the mob Italian restaurant. So it was pretty awesome. So we did that.
The
and
only kind.
yeah.
Yes.
But we're right. So we were running a little bit late. We were supposed to stop at Times Square. Instead, we had to just kind of go right past it, and then we went to the second thing, which was a dinner cruise that went around the Statue of Liberty. And I've been to New York a handful of times. First time I was able to see the Statue of Liberty, and it was just absolutely beautiful to see it fairly close up. It's quite majestic, glowing at night and all that, maybe next to it. So that was awesome. To be honest, though, the highlight was the Friday after everything. The trip was pretty much over. The rest of the team had gone back to New York for the day, but my sister had picked me up, and she brought me to Connecticut so I could spend time with the family who I hadn't seen in like 6 years. So that was really wonderful. I got to surprise my family. I thought my stepmother was going to cry. It was pretty hilarious. But she was completely shocked, completely surprised, and had a little get together with some
Oh,
friends.
she not
and-
you know you were going to be there?
No, I surprised my dad and my stepmother. The rest of my sisters knew.
Oh, that's
okay.
pretty awesome.
Oh yeah,
Right on. I
yeah,
didn't
they
know
were
that.
totally stoked. So, got to spend a lot of quality time with them. Well, 18 hours really, with them and my two sisters. And I couldn't see my mom and my other sister were in New Hampshire. They didn't come down. A lot of the family wasn't feeling well, and I was like, "Don't bring your disease down here. I don't want to get sick." So, yeah. So one of my sisters, the young lady who picked me up, Emily, she picked me up in Norwalk, and she's the one that brought me in to Bristol. And she's actually going to be on the podcast in 2 weeks, which really looking forward to that. She's going to be our first guest. My sister, she's a badass. So still hasn't listened to any of our podcasts, though. Ironic, isn't it? I gave her a
That
ton of
is.
shit for it too. But
There's only 5 people listening.
no.
No, I know there's more than that. I'm just, it's the ongoing joke.
It is.
Sorry.
Thank you, 2 listeners, and we're 3 of the 5.
Totally. We're listening to it as it's going on.
Exactly. So it was a wonderful time. Had a great time. Nothing majorly eventful happened. It was just an awesome time and an awesome opportunity from the company that I work for to see my family who I hadn't seen in several years. So, props to the company I work for, and just wonderful seeing my family. It was just perfect. It's a perfect balance. So,
That's cool.
yeah.
Yeah, about the mob, about Mateo's in New York. My apparently my family that lives in Boston, because that's where my grandfather came from,
Mhm.
met my grandmother in World War II. Then they got together, and they just stayed here where we are, Chattanooga. So I don't know any of the Griswolds up in Massachusetts at all. And my uncle, when my grandmother passed away, said, well, they all married into the mob, so that's why we don't go up there.
Wow.
That's interesting. So
Oh, really?
we may need to look into some genealogy stuff or whatever.
Married into the mob.
Probably. And the
Interesting.
Italians, that's what all the sisters up there were marrying the Italians.
Marrying
So,
Italians and mob.
Wow.
yeah, so
That's awesome.
Interesting.
That's pretty interesting.
If I come up missing,
Yeah.
there you go.
It'll probably take us at least a couple weeks to notice because we'll be like, why isn't he at this podcast?
Exactly. He's late again.
Did you have any layovers or anything on your trip?
Yeah, we had a layover in Atlanta, both there and back. But like I said, I actually changed my ticket to go out of Boston because my sister lives up just south of Southie Boston. So I switched that over, and it was a much nicer flight actually. TVs on the plane, so I was able to watch the Patriots game.
JFK sucks.
Nice.
Yeah, so they lost.
Yeah. So the reason for layover is, what did you listen to? I know that we were talking about the last podcast, the evolution of kind of music, but what were you listening to, buddy?
I was listening to We Were Promised Jetpacks, which is a great band. They're out of Scotland, I want to say, like an indie rock. Yeah, I really love them a lot. Them, some Metallica is always on the back burner, and Zeppelin actually. Yeah,
Sometimes you just got to get the lead out.
yeah, so true.
That is great.
It's accurate.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
I still
but
do it sometimes.
yeah. So earlier Led Zeppelin stuff, though. Like
Yeah.
1 and 2.
one is 2 is my favorite song is "Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You," and that's off of
It's 1.
1. But I think as a whole, I like 2 better. But
But
and
did you
then-
just not like them as they evolved over time?
I guess no, it's not that I didn't like them. It's just sometimes bands kind of try and do something a little bit different, and the sound just doesn't click for me. So like their later stuff, I think they lose touch with their roots sometimes with bands, and that's frustrating. Unless it's somebody like Radiohead, who's completely flipped the script and went from this rock band, alternative rock band, to almost an electronic band, and they did it with absolute success. And I really like what they done. But generally speaking, over time, and I think this happens a lot, is fans tend to fade away. When bands start releasing more and more albums because they want to change.
Right.
Yeah, but that poses the question that I asked you guys earlier. I mean, why is it that consumers can like a broad range of music, very eclectic collections that you have
Like, what do you have?
Okay,
What's eclectic for you?
on my phone? I could play you some country music. We can go to some rap. We can go to metal. I mean, I have Dropkick Murphys on there too,
Good stuff, man.
and then Hank 3. that's some crazy stuff right
I've
there.
never listened to that. Everybody tells me I got to listen to Hank 3, but I've never really given it a chance.
Yeah, so I mean, I can listen to a broad spectrum of stuff, but when an artist wants to evolve or change or grow as either a solo artist or a group and experiment with new things, they tend to get destroyed. And I know that we always talk about Metallica, but there's plenty of other bands.
Yeah.
No, that's something that's
transition.
just kind of across the board. A lot of people just, crap on them.
Yeah, because
So-
as soon as they cut their hair and they released Load and Reload, and then the Black Album gets a lot of crap too, because it's not.
That was the first change, though, in their sound. It was the first real change to something different.
Yeah, but why is that okay for us to?
Yeah, even though you probably have something else in your collection that's probably along the lines of that. Why is it okay to bash that band?
Yeah,
Yeah, and I hate the word bashing because I still respect the band. The Black Album is something where it's not a bad album. It's actually a really good album. I just saw a switch in what they that they gave me over the years. I saw a switch when the Black Album came out and said, okay, they're really going somewhere different with their sound now, and let go of that. I guess aggression would probably be the best way, that fast aggression. I really miss that, and that's why the newer stuff that's come out, Death Magnetic, and the other new album that's dropping in a couple weeks or next month or something like that.
Yeah, I don't keep
That
up with it.
I mean, what I've heard from that, the two songs that's on the radio, that's, to me, that's got that aggression back. And when I listen to Metallica, I listen to it so I can headbang and let off steam. And even a slow song back in the day would end with a great solo, or it would speed up a little bit. That break between like the Black Album and Saint Anger. I mean, Saint Anger tried to get the thrash back, but it sounded just hollow.
Yeah, it was production.
And so that just kind of lost something for me. Now, don't get me wrong, with Load and Reload, their ballads were beautiful. That's what I like. I like their slow music, their ballad stuff from the years where, to me, it didn't necessarily sound like Metallica. I don't know if the right way to put that, but like,
Right.
do you know what I'm saying?
No. I got what you're saying, but
Like
I'll-
Mama Said and all that. That's a beautiful song.
I'll propose this to you. Do you
No,
think
I will not marry you.
No, you're not my type. I don't like the French tickler on your face. That beard you got going on. Sorry.
Well,
Does
if you're
do it
looking
for
for
me.
that, we all know we got to go to Grizz.
Yeah.
you call that a beard?
Exactly. No. Well, no. Well, here's where I'm gonna go with this, because you know me, I'm a big Caius fan.
Yep.
I love Caius. I thought there's nothing that they did while they were active.
So
that they did wrong.
Caius isn't a big, really familiar band to people. What kind of
No,
music?
they're kind of like a
to describe.
think
it
of
for
like a
fans.
groovier, bluesier Black Sabbath. A little bit more modern on like the sound, just because with the overtime with like amplifiers, and that's something you probably would, if you listen to like Led Zeppelin and like the stuff they do in like 70s, and then you listen to like what bands are influenced them. They have like a more distorted sound. They have a heavier, more distorted sound, but ultimately, they're a groovy like 70s like throwback style. I mean, of course, it's more like they have their thing, but they infuse like what I call the sound of the desert, which is a little bit more spacey. It's a little bit darker and bluesier. I mean, it's good stuff. But they broke up years ago. They broke up in the 90s, and recently they had gotten back together, more or less. The guitarist wasn't there, but the drummer, the bassist, the lead singer, and they brought a guy who was basically like, he's in that whole entire scene. You expected to have like a new Caius album come out, and they came up with a band called Vistacino because of legal issues. Of course, not all the same members are in the band. They couldn't use that name anymore. But when it came out, not going to say it's not a good album, because Vistacino, that Vistacino album is pretty good. You can't get that sound back. Over time, a band evolves. It's because when you're a musician, you get bored playing the same damn thing over and over. You're going to change.
Same thing happened to Stone Temple Pilots. You had Core and Purple
Right.
that sounded similar, and then everything after that was just totally different.
Well, what I found with what happens is they change something that's a signature of theirs.
Right. Well,
And I hate to bring it back to Metallica, but they went to, we're not going to do guitar solos. Like, it's Metallica. How do you not have guitar solos?
They have to evolve because everybody else is trying to
Yeah,
mimic
no, but
them.
know why they did that? They did that because nobody else was doing guitar solos. I mean, there's a point in music where all of a sudden all the stuff on the radio, there were no more guitar solos. So there was a point in music where all of a sudden you weren't hearing guitar solos anymore, and the music just had the same riff throughout, and it got boring. And that for me was extremely frustrating. But that was the growth of music. But that's a huge part of songs.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, though.
To fully strip to say you're a heavy metal band and not have any type of like solo or anything in there. It's just chorus.
Well.
Verse, chorus, verse with no solo or break in the middle.
But they changed. They changed to what musically worked for them, because otherwise, if you're sitting there, if they sat around doing thrash metal all their lives, they're going to be bored as hell. Now, you see, what I think is interesting with them is, and this is kind of like why I didn't think that Visicino could ever deliver. You cannot be a multimillionaire, successful, like rock star
and relate
and get back to that same young piss and full of vinegar, eating like bologna out of the pack because you cannot afford like anything else because you're touring in your damn van. You're never going to get that sound back, and nobody's ever going to get that sound when they were gritty and real. They have to evolve. They have to change. But we get pissed off at them. My thing with, and this is, I was getting on you now, is like new Metallica, like the last 2 singles they're coming out with.
Yes.
They're trying to go back to that sound. You can't capture that magic again.
See,
that's why I think you have to evolve.
I see what you're saying there, and I look at this as an evolution, but they're keeping their roots in the thrash. They're going back to, okay, this is what made us popular, and I think there's a little bit more aggression in the sound, and that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the emotion in it, and I think some of the emotion kind of disappeared. I do completely understand what you're saying, but I don't think they're trying to copy the past. I think they're trying to go, okay, let's stick to our roots, but do something new with it. And I'm with them on this stuff, like the last album and the one that's coming up. I'm totally on board because I like the fact that they're sticking to their roots a little bit to completely kind of change the sound. And I'm gonna another band, Coldplay. I loved their earlier albums.
Mm-hmm.
The first 2 albums were great, and then they started to go a little U2-ish and a little too big, and every song is this big stadium sound, and now everything's mixed as a dance beat at your local club. I find that frustrating because you're now not, you're making a pop song. You're not making a song that really has emotion to it. So the newest album, the latest album was Ghost Stories 2 albums ago, and it was slow and melodic and absolutely beautiful. And their single was just kind of this peppy song. I didn't really like the song as a single, but when I listened to it in the album, I go, okay, I see how that completely works, and it totally fits. But their newer album is still like got that poppy sound. And the last few albums have been just this. I'm kind of missing the emotion out of it. It just seems like they're just trying to make big anthem songs, kind of like U2. So I find that frustrating that they're kind of letting go of their roots a little bit. You're still the same band. I understand you want to grow as a band, but don't forget the roots. The roots is what got your fan base. If you want to do a different song, different type of sound, go start a new band or a side project. I mean, look at Tool, Maynard. I mean, he's got Tool, and he has Pussifer and A Perfect Circle. He's got 3 different bands that he does 3 different styles of music with.
Right. Well, Pussifer, I would dare go say that they're
they're
more fluid in their sound than any of the others.
Yeah.
So, Perfect Circle sounds like a Perfect Circle. Tool sounds like Tool.
I need to be driving down the road in the car pouring down rain to listen to Tool.
Right.
I get that.
Well, I have a lot of different like musical tastes. Like, I mean, you guys know me for like the louder stuff. I listen to a lot of like doom metal and like heavier like tech death and things like that, as well as like along with well, there's a whole entire thing. Well, there's like tech death is basically, it's like that whole entire death style metal, but it's infused with more jazz influences where they like there's odd meters and like there's a lot of dissonance and just like kind of like it's crazy. I mean, it's interesting. It's, if you listen to it, you can listen to that and then pull up like a jazz album or like a fusion album. Like you can go listen to like the Mahavishnu Orchestra and be like, oh, okay, I hear the correlation now, and like solos and things like that. But, like I'm all over the place. I listen to, things like, I'll have like a lot of acoustic stuff. Like, like things like Jose Gonzalez, like, I like Elliott Smith, which is a little bit darker, but, I have a wide range of music. So there are bands that like I have that I would definitely say, well, I don't like their later stuff. But if their later stuff turns into something else that I'm listening to, I don't really necessarily get as upset with it. It's like I notice some people will be like, well, I loved them when they were local. But, because, I'm from New York City, so, you go to local bands. I like them when they were local. I like that stuff in this era. But now that they're, like, a little bit bigger, I don't really like that sound anymore. It's like you want to keep them yours. Is it a personal thing, or is it really just, like, like when they start to gain, like, mainstream notoriety, or more people start listening to them because they've changed their sound? Is that what pisses you off, or is it like...
I get what you're saying.
How much pull does the artist have in general, or is everything kind of driven by the producer or the label?
Well, what a producer, like what I've always heard, like the perfect producer doesn't change the music. It helps you realize the sound that you were actually going for. I mean, there are some bands that just, when they're small, they're not going to know what they're trying to get, and then they have somebody, it's like, oh, you get us, and it's going to kind of, like, build it.
The potential.
Yeah.
Like Green Day. I mean, from the first album to what they put out now. I mean,
they're also going back a little bit closer to what they used to be.
Yeah.
Too.
I think a lot of those bands are. A lot of bands that we listened to, back in the 80s and the 90s that are still around that are releasing new stuff are trying to get back to their roots. I don't know if this is me just being old, but the music on the radio is just, I just don't like it. I just don't like it.
There's stuff out there that's good. I think
that's
that
so hard to find, though. Do you have a band that you really liked, and then you followed them, and then after time you're just like, I really don't like what they're doing anymore?
Probably Stone Temple Pilots is the one that kind of just fell off for me.
It's a band I thought evolved very well. Oh, because we've been going down like bands that might have not done so. I thought that Soundgarden was the one that did really well at evolving their sound, because they started very garagey, like Louder and Love and like stuff like that, and then I guess mainstream success was like Bad Motorfinger. That's what like outshined Rusty Cage, and then their last album was way more bluesy, not as straight up like heavy riffing, and it was still awesome from beginning to end, like down the upside. Of course, they've come back out now. I'm not as big on it, but I thought like in that time frame when they were like that initial time frame and they were an active band, that was a good evolution, because they still kept that sound that they were known for, that drop D tuning. Yeah, but I thought that they kept that sound really well. So I guess the question really comes down to, who do you think, what's a band that really evolved well for you? What do you guys have?
For me, Relevant, who's still, I know they're on a break, but Foo Fighters.
Yeah, I like the way that they evolved, actually.
Yeah.
I guess there was a point where I wasn't as into it, just because it got a little bit too poppy and a little bit too mellow for me. Well, they've got a third guitarist. You remember, because Pat Smear left the band and like just suddenly like walked off stage. Yeah, now he's back, and they didn't get rid of the other dude, and they're all good guitarists too. So they've got like the largest like rhythm section. When they get going, it's like
they're probably one of my
monstrous
favorite bands. I mean, just for the good sound they put out as well from where they started. I know it was kind of, if what happened to Kurt Cobain wouldn't have happened, Foo Fighters wouldn't have been where they are. I mean,
right.
If you got to think about it, because Dave Grohl
was doing okay at the time, but he would have been like one of those artists that would have been like, faded into obscurity over time, unfortunately.
Yeah. The Foo Fighters could have been a thing, but it...
Well, that would have happened with Nirvana, too.
Yeah.
What about you, Derek?
A band that's hung in there throughout the years, that's a hard one. That's hard, because most of my bands eventually change so much that I don't necessarily...
U2 is still huge, just not really here local in the U.S.
Yeah,
like,
and I like U2.
Worldwide, they're huge, and they've kind of sounded the same.
Yeah, I do like U2. I like their stadium sound more than Coldplay's stadium sound. But that's a tough one for me.
What about you, Matt?
Right now, I think the band that really does it for me is a band called Between the Buried and Me. They started out like just obnoxious Cookie Monster vocal, like, metal, and they've kind of progressed. The last album was it was a concept album. The whole entire album could be just kind of like one running piece of music, and they just keep pushing themselves like musically, and also they're more nuanced. There's more theater in it, so there's more ups and downs. Like, there's like they know how to pace an album now. I think that's something that they never had, when they first started, and they've just been progressively getting better and better, and they don't really care what people say about them. So it kind of lets them just do what they want musically. I think they said they feel like at this point in the band that they could possibly do anything that they could possibly want to do musically. They're capable of doing it. So it's just wherever their minds can go, and they're willing to go there. So for me, that works.
What do you think about Ozzy?
Oh, hold on. I'm just gonna
Okay.
no 2 bands that I've liked everything they've done. Definitely Radiohead, and they've gone through a severe change, and I still like what they have out. And that other band I told you about earlier, We Were Promised Jetpacks. They have 3 albums out. Each one for me is a little bit better overall. I like the first album the best, but overall, their sound is improving and they're just evolving. So I really like them. Everybody out there needs to listen to We Were Promised Jetpacks if you like an indie rock type sound. It's good music. So, but yeah, them and Radiohead has stuck with me over the years.
Radiohead
too.
was always an interesting one to me because I remember reading this old interview, like the lead singer, like the writer, he was basically like,
Tom York.
Tom York. He was basically saying that Radiohead to him was like a failure. And I was like, oh man, like some of the best music that's in my collection, like this is a failure. Because basically he has sounds going on in his head that he can't physically obtain, which is what I think maybe why they went to that electronic route, because you can kind of try and mimic that a little bit more. He's got a beautiful mind.
Yes. Yeah,
say
he's
the
pure
least.
talent. What was your question again?
The range or progression of an artist. What about Ozzy Osbourne?
That's
That-
difficult. I didn't
Yeah.
even like the progression of Sabbath, honestly. And then when it got to Ozzy, well, I know Ozzy's had some good hits over the years, and like even like with the Zakk Wylde era stuff, there's a couple of gems in there, but there's a lot of it that I'm just like.
I liked the tribute album, the live tribute album, because that's what I listened to mostly when I was younger. But overall, like No More Tears and all that, it just seemed really poppy for me. It was that. It to me, it felt like a second or a third tier of hair metal bands.
Yeah.
It was. I would put them below Motley Crue for that time.
What I will give Ozzy though is that no matter what he's doing, whoever he has touring with him, his guitarist, is sick.
Yeah, he doesn't.
Whoever
mess
it's going to be is sick.
around.
So I'm going to go ahead and tell you a band that, to me, I'll take it back that just didn't. I'm going to take back the Stone Temple Pilots, and I'm going to put in Kiss. From where they started to where they ended up,
Yeah.
that was just a horrific, just fall off the cliff.
I know at one point you're like, no, I don't want to rock and roll all night. I'm going to stop this right now.
You remember that? You
Please
remember that
put
show?
your makeup back on.
Yes.
You remember the
I
show?
don't
that
want to
Gene
lick it up.
Simmons-
There's nothing I want to lick up.
Oh.
I know.
Oh,
Are you
that's
playing
disgusting.
a disco album right now? Yeah.
To go off topic, I thought this was the best thing I ever saw. Was you remember how Gene Simmons had that show to School of Rock
Yeah.
on like VH1 where he'd like teach like these kids how to play like a rock song and they play like a rock concert, like do like 2 songs or something. They were in England, and he's been teaching them, and he's been like working with them and everything. And Tony Iommi from Sabbath comes in, because he's friends with Iommi, so he brings in Iommi, and there's like this girl that's like, not to respect Mr. Gene Simmons, but he's nothing compared to Tony Iommi.
No.
And I was like, yes, so awesome. That's right. Okay, yeah. So going back to that, this is what I wanted to go back on the other day. We're playing Battlefront, and I'm sniffling a lot because of the allergies and everything. And like every time like I sniffled or sneezed or coughed, he's like, "Man, you really sound bad." I didn't really say anything at the time, but I want to be like, "Man, every time we come up to like a set of stairs, I want to be like, man, you really can't walk," or like, "Man, you really can't lift yourself up." Like this asshole right here. Thanks, by the way.
You're welcome. Yeah. A little bit different situation. I mean, you got the sniffles.
Well, excuse
my
me.
legs don't
Well,
work.
No,
I mean,
exactly. What else? Like you're like, well, I'm gonna one up you. I'm like, yeah, man. I'm like, I have bad allergies, like extremely bad allergies, and you're like, oh, that's sad. I can't walk. Like,
yeah, life sucks. Yeah, you did. You sounded like death, man.
yeah.
That was just a couple days ago. So
What was
Yeah.
this a couple days ago?
Yeah, you sounded horrible.
I know.
Life,
Life.
allergies, Chattanooga.
So, one thing that is relevant right now that I wanted to touch on is totally off topic, but
No.
definitely needs to be mentioned for whoever listens to this. The Hurricane Matthew's going on right now, and Reuters announced yesterday that there was over 840 plus people that have passed away in Haiti because of this storm. And then just a few years ago, the earthquake totally devastated. So
There's nothing like
prayers,
protecting
good
them.
vibes, whatever. Whatever you can do to support Haiti, that would be fantastic.
Right.
Absolutely.
I
I
know what
watched
won't
this.
do.
Have you ever seen the show Adam Ruins Everything?
I've heard it. I've never watched it.
He basically said, all you people that go out and do all this massive blood drives when there's a disaster, a lot of that blood just gets thrown away because blood has a shelf
Has a
life,
shelf life,
a
right.
month or something like that. And so a lot of that gets thrown away when everybody does it at once. So it tends to be a waste. Even food drives are kind of the same way. The stuff that goes bad, they got to throw away. And so basically it's saying if you're going to give money to an organization that's going to use it where it needs to be used to help these people.
By the way, when you guys are donating money, take a look to see how they're funded, because sometimes your money goes into, paying their paychecks. If you can find somebody who's like a nonprofit, they get external payments for their paychecks and they actually use the money that you're putting in to actually help people. Just putting that out there, that helps in anything that you want to give money to.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Horrible what they went through. Prayers, love, good thoughts over to the people in Haiti. And
it's
anybody
totally off topic, but that just that's
it's just
horrible.
Horrible. So much love to them, and hopefully, gosh, it's horrible. So, well, I guess we'll end it on that sad note for everybody.
Hey, let's talk about music. By the way, let's put you down.
Right?
No, I mean, like you said,
it has to be said. No, absolutely.
Research who you want to give. If you want to give research, who you want to give to. Not only here in America, but everybody that has been affected by this storm.
Yes, absolutely. So hashtag
be love.
Hashtag be love. All right. Well, thank you for listening to our third podcast. We really appreciate you out there, and keep listening, keep sharing. Let all your friends know about us. We really enjoy doing this, and we'd like to continue that for y'all. So thank you, and remember, everybody, even a speed bump can be a jump.
Thank you for supporting Walking in My Wheels. You can listen to us on iTunes, Google Play, and YouTube. Also follow us on Facebook and Instagram. If you have something to say, email us at walkinginmywheels@gmail.com. Keep being awesome people and hashtag be love.